Yep, so now it's time. I'm just going to begin. So, hi everyone, my name is Richna and I'm from the Human Resource Association. And welcome all to the Power of Networking. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's great to see many of you here. And just letting you know that this session will be recorded and a bit of housekeeping rules. Please turn your camera and mute your microphone unless you're speaking, and unless you're the speakers. Please also pin the speakers by right-click on the image and pin so you could see them as they speak. And then also to see the full background of our speakers, you could right-click again and then click Fit to Frame. And then I'll pass it on to Nick.
Thanks, Richie. I'd first like to start by acknowledgement of country. We would like to acknowledge the people of the Woi Wurrung and Boon Wurrung language groups of the Eastern Kulin Nation, on whose lands we conduct the business of RMIT University. We respectfully acknowledge their ancestors, elders, past, present, and future. Now, move on to a quick introduction to the project management chapter. We are the RMIT Project Management Chapter. We're a small or medium-sized 150 people plus academic club that aims to provide students with an interest in project management or studying project management with access to events, opportunities to further improve their industry knowledge while creating exciting networking events between student, alumni and staff. If you're not already a member, feel free to join, and we look forward to seeing you on campus and in the near future, hopefully. I'll now pass on to Rich, who will introduce the HRA.
Thank you, Nick. So for those who are new to the Human Resource Association, we are a student-run club, aims to connect human resource management to non-human resource management, to alumni, staff, and industry through hosting our event. If you're interested in joining or helping out, please shoot us an email or message us on our social as mentioned here. And I'll pass it over back to Nick.
Thank you, Rich. I'd like to give a quick introduction to the event. So we will be covering a quick overview of the event. Obviously, strong networking is a powerful tool today. In collaboration with Ebony, Preeta, Vinesh, the PMC and HRA, we will go through what effective networking is and how you can utilize effective networking to your advantage. The concepts which we will cover today include a definition of networking and the importance of putting yourself out there by our industry panelist, Ebony. We'll then move on to the next concept, which is key resources to stand out from the crowd, which will be presented by Preeta. After that, we'll look into the importance of choosing your network, which will be presented by Vinesh. And most importantly, networking during and after COVID-19 will be presented by everyone. I'll now pass on to Rich to introduce the panelists.
So on behalf of the Human Resource Association and the Project Management Chapter team, we're super excited to be joined by our panelists here tonight. Let me now introduce them to you. So we have Ebony, who's the Senior Consultant at North Project. And then we have Preeta, who is People and Culture Business Partner at Pro. And we have Manish, who is a Software Engineer. And panelists, if you don't mind, would you like to introduce yourself a bit more to our participants here tonight?
Evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name's Ebony Sharman. I'm a Senior Consultant at North Projects. So I predominantly operate in the building and construction industry, passionate about networking, passionate about mentoring, and I'm really excited to introduce, to be the introductory for the presentation tonight. I'm keen to see if anyone has some great questions as well.
Thank you for that, Ebony.
Great, thanks. I'll just move on from that. Thanks, Ebony. So I'm actually currently the people business partner for Probe. We're a business processing outsourcer. So in, I guess, simple terms, those are large volumes of call centers. Work in quite a unique, complex environment with over 3,000 people. So I guess I'm really excited to understand, as well, like Ebony said, the questions that you guys are going to have and your take on networking as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Preeta and Ebony. Good evening. Sorry that you had to spend a Friday evening hearing to us, But if you're in Melbourne, there's nothing much you can do anyway. So better do this than nothing. I'm a software developer by profession, but I help a lot of job seekers, especially migrants and international students here in Australia. And if you follow my LinkedIn, you would understand what I'm doing. And I'm really excited to see. That lots of people today. I think there are about 100 people joined in, which is exciting, very exciting. Let's see how we get along with this session.
Thank you. And I'd like to also acknowledge our special guest here tonight. We have Sophie, who is a HR Business Associate from Ford. We have Marco, who is our HRM course coordinator at Amata University, and Ivana, who is a business support advisor from NAB. The first concept will be presented by Ebony on the definition of networking and the importance of putting yourself out there. So now I'll hand over to Ebony.
Thank you, Ashna. So what is networking? I think everybody that's attended this event tonight really wants to know what it's about and how to make sure that it's worthwhile and real. So if you can see the definition on the screen, it's the action or process of interacting with others to exchange information and develop professional or social contacts. Now that is an extract from Google, but I want to break down some of the key words in that definition. So there's the process, which is a formality. There's different processes and different ways to network, but each one of those processes requires the action to do the networking. And from that action, what you get out of that is the development of relationships, whether you're looking to do it in a social context or in a professional context. So I want to break that down even further in the next slide, please, Nick. Thank you. So what I want to say with the first image there under informal is that you're probably already networking without knowing or realizing that you're doing it. All of you are students, all of you interact with each other, albeit in the current situation, you may be doing it on an online platform. You're already learning some of the basic skills of networking, which is communication. Like I said, you're already doing it. You're already developing some of those skills very early on. And I guess it's about transitioning from what you're doing every day, asking questions, approaching people, and how do you transition that into formal networking, which I guess is what we're mostly here to talk about for you guys when you graduate or as you go along in your academic journey. So you take those same concepts from your informal networking, it helps you build confidence to approach people, it helps you build confidence to articulate yourself, it helps you build confidence to offset approach and to just start and end a conversation. You're already doing that. Don't think that it's something you're only going to do when you get a job or, towards the end of you graduating. You're doing those skills, you're learning and developing those skills now. So I think one of my biggest advice is be aware of your everyday interactions and see how you could improve and how that might, in a more formal setting. Another element that I sort of brought up at the first slide is mentoring. So mentoring is a huge passion of mine. I've got a mentee that's attending tonight, and thank you for inviting me to participate, Esther. So there are two images here about journey and growth. The one thing I want to tell you about mentoring is it's similar to networking. You need to use those early skills of having confidence in yourself, approaching people, communicating. And the one key thing I want to tell you about mentoring, having been a mentee and now a mentor, that it's a journey. It's not just a one-time commitment. It's not just ticking a box. There's a journey, and it's a journey for both the mentor and mentee. I've kept in touch with my mentees for years, and sometimes, maybe a couple-month relationship, sometimes it might be a lifelong relationship, but it's a journey for each person involved. And mentoring is a great way to practice your skills for networking, to seek advice, to have someone to soundboard. And I think I know RMIT have really, really great avenues for you to seek mentors, for you to learn more about mentoring. So I strongly encourage you to seek out a mentor, and it doesn't have to be professional. It can be someone in your personal, it can be a lecturer, it can be someone in your friendship circle at university who you look up to. And the last image there shows growth. Now, growth is applicable to both mentoring and networking. No one is perfect. Nobody knows everything, whether it's socially or academically or professionally. You always need to grow. So I think you need to take that with a grain of salt and understand that anyone that you speak to in a networking situation, let's say you're at a formal networking event and you're a bit worried about approaching them, more often than not, the person that's older and is seen as the more professional or the longer standing professional person is also there to grow and is probably equally as nervous as you. And I think it's about understanding everyone's there. Everyone that wants to be there is there. If you don't want to be at these sorts of things, you won't attend. So it's always a welcoming environment. It should always be a welcoming environment. And that's it from me.
Thank you, Ebony. I was just wondering if any of the other panelists or special guests have anything to add to this before we move on to the next concept.
Good.
I think we're good. We'll move on to the next concept then. Now I'd like to have Preeta step up to the plate to speak about the key resources to stand out from the crowd.
Right. Firstly, thank you, Ebony, for the points you raised. I think I can't agree more with you when you say that we're all actually here to grow. It's definitely a two-way street. So I'm just going to talk about the key resources to stand out in a crowd. And I guess I thought about this carefully, and I feel there's no one tool or resource to help you stand out. And I definitely don't want to bore you with what you can Google. So I rather share my thoughts with you, I guess, and my experiences. So look, I truly believe that you are your greatest resource and you can start there. So you may be looking at my slide and wondering, all right, there's this one slide which has why all over it. I truly believe that everything that you do must be done with purpose. Right. So you should be asking yourself, why am I doing this? We certainly are in interesting times. I guess, like Vinesh said, in Melbourne, we're all kind of locked away in a sense for our own good. But however you want to think about networking, I guess, in general, COVID or not, we're still using the same methods to reach out to people. We're messaging a mentor, an ex-colleague, or we're reaching out to people on LinkedIn via email or via text. So let's just say you're seeking to network or learn from a fellow professional about their experience or to understand their role in an industry. I guess what I've learned is that putting yourself out there doesn't necessarily mean being the most seen or reaching out to the most number of people. I know often you go through LinkedIn of networks of people, and a lot of people sit there and go click add, right? I guess what I want to ask is, what does it mean to be connected, right? So what does that mean to you? My recommendation definitely would be to identify the who and the why, and how does this person align to the goal that you'd like to achieve. Look, most people are willing to pass on, and that's an ethos that I guess I strongly believe in. I know sometimes time gets in the way, but where people can, they're happy to share and they're happy to grow together. So let's just say you found your who and you're asking for 15 minutes of their time, right? You're asking them because you believe that experience is your best teacher and you're seeking to learn from them within the field. So you're setting an expectation. It's not just, hi, would love to connect, would love to get to know more about you. You know, I would approach it in a way where maybe we're saying, I'm really keen in the industry and the role that you're currently performing. If you have a short 15 minutes, I would like to take the opportunity to have a chat. I only say that, guys, because I very often get questions about people asking, so, hey, Priya, why did you do HR? And I always think about that question. So, it could vary from opportunity, or from the path you took, or being in a certain place or time that led you to the role that you're currently in. So that question I'm asking is, what value does that question bring to your journey? Right? So I guess besides the how are you doing, we're in interesting times, again, I guess we're here to learn about how do you stand out and how do you be remembered. Maybe reaching out and saying, hi, I have a background in the education industry. We can agree that every organization operates differently. I'm keen to understand what HR looks like in your current world, given that COVID has changed the way we usually operate. Would love to have a quick chat when you have time, right? You're adding value to that connection, and I think that's really important. And I think that is where the standing out comes in. So I guess in brief, do your research, understand what is it that you want to ask, what is the end goal that you actually want to achieve. It is extremely important to, I guess, arm yourself with the right questions and be familiar with the industries, with the people that you're reaching out to. So you want to leave a mark and you want to stand out. So you want to be remembered. And let's say I've reached out to somebody, I would like someone to remember that connection to be, oh, all right, I remember, Preeta, we had a really quick, insightful conversation regarding dealing with different global locations and the role that culture plays. I've left a mark. I'm not just, hi, would love to connect, would love to get to know more about you. So I guess in a way, if I had to put this, the process really pushes you. It pushes you to reflect on your key strengths and also reflect on the areas that you really want to understand and grow. And I always tell myself this, really. I always believe that, the willingness to learn and the eagerness to learn is a beautiful trait. However, what is the goal? Where will my arrow land? Will I hit the mark of what I'm trying to achieve? So I guess going back to what Ebony said earlier, and I can't agree more with her about how you're actually already networking often. And look, I guess maybe when I started out as a graduate many years ago, you always seek to network with those who've had many years of experience in the industry. And that's extremely valuable. Now, I never discount that. But my tip, back to what Ebony said about how, you're already networking, my tip would be not to forget the peers that you have around you, because they actually currently are in the job market. They're also trying to understand the challenges, and they may have faced it, and they may be able to actually give you a fresh perspective. So I guess don't narrow your network to a small group of people. And look, I guess that is a lot of information that I've put in there in a really short time. But I guess I just want, if I could think back about the things that I wish someone said to me before, I would definitely say that it is really, really important to maximize on the opportunities that you have been given. And that doesn't necessarily mean, let's say, reinventing the wheel or finding a tool or finding a resource, but maybe sit back and look and ask, what do you already have, and who do you already know, and how can you capitalize on that, right? So I really hope that gives you some insight and maybe a little task later on to reflect on the why and the who and the goal. Remember, the aim of networking is to actually make a connection with like-minded people. All the benefits come later. So I really hope that has been helpful in a really short burst. Vinesh, just on to you.
Thank you, Preeta. That was really good. Do any of our other panelists have anything to add, or guest speakers, before we move on to the next one? good. No worries. So moving on to the third one, the third concept, we have Vanish who will be presenting on the importance of choosing your network. Now I'll pass over to Vanish.
Thanks, Regina. Thanks, Preeta and Ebony, for your input. So first things first, networking is a two-way street. You know the chat over here works, right? I haven't heard a single note or awesome or well done or good info from anyone. So either you're really engrossed in the conversation or you're sleeping. Do it. Use the chat box. Is the chat not working? Okay, before I get into my topic, I just wanted to share, Preeta and Ebony shared a lot of insightful topics on what networking is and how you have to go about it. My question for you is, do you know why you are networking? I mean, everyone says this session is about power of networking, but if you don't know why you have to network or you're doing because everyone is saying, hey, just network, that's not the point. You should know, like Preeta said, why you're doing it and who you're doing it with. So do you have an idea of why you're networking? A lot of people are commenting, so I'm just looking for some reasons as in why you are networking. Has everyone gone back to their sleep? No? Yeah, so David saying to increase opportunities, Nick says to meet people, Sarthak says to increase connections with our respective industry. So different reasons. So the reason you're networking could be to find a job. That's one reason. Second thing is to step up your career. Third thing is to just have fun, maybe. Fourth is if you are into a business, you're trying to reach out to more people and getting into that. So there could be different reasons, and the approaches can be different when you're doing when you're getting in touch with different people. So let me share my slide now. By the way, apologies for the huge difference in the formatting. This is my style. It's kind of boring compared to what the RMIT HRA team does, but we'll have to go with this. So today I'll focus a bit on networking on LinkedIn, how to go about it and what are the different nuances. So this is the first task for you. If you can go to slido.com and enter the code as N347, it's a poll just to understand what you are doing. Or who do you network with? That's the first question. I just want to know, I just want to get a wavelength of who I'm dealing with here and what the audience is like. So please go to slido.com and enter N347. You will be able to poll over there.
Sorry, just jumping in quickly. Ebony, you have your hand up. Do you have anything you wanted to say, or was that just an accident?
I think that was an accident, sorry.
Okay, no worries, just making sure, thank you.
So you get the votes are coming in. We have about 10, 13 people. There are about 80 people today, so yeah, let's get on it. 24, good. We'll wait a couple of seconds till everyone gets a chance to vote and move on. By the way, don't move away from the page. There is one more poll, so it'll be good if you can stay on the page. Okay, so let's see what the data gives. So out of close to 50 votes, I think 47 votes, the top most is recruiters in your domain. So that's good. 27, which is almost equal to the top most, says anyone. Which may or may not be good depending on what your intention is. Hiring managers, any recruiters, others. So I wanted to check who the others are in the chat, but I don't think chat is working very well. So if you'd like to put who the others are, go ahead and put it in the chat. But in general, I think recruiters in your domain is the popular choice and anyone is the second popular choice. So anyone doesn't really help, but that's all right too. So my next question to you, how do you network on LinkedIn? This is an open-ended question, so you can type in whatever you want. Rather than me giving you choices, LinkedIn suggestions, exploring, reaching out to industry using message section, find someone who has been through a journey, follow up, connect on LinkedIn, comment, react. Good, good. Search for people from similar backgrounds, following people working in the industry, commenting on recruiters, comment, browsing company profiles, finding senior managers in company, good. Write posts and research, excellent. Reaching out to peers, excellent. Professional groups, excellent. So blah. Okay, so we have a lot of ways to figure out how to network. Now, this is your version. Now let me share my version. What is it that you have to do? First step, I think Ebony and Preeta touched on this point. Decide who your target audience is. If you're looking for a job, recruiters and hiring managers, or anyone in your domain is your target audience. If you're looking for a career transition, anyone in the career you're planning to transition to is your target audience. If you're a graduate, similar graduates is also your target audience. So these are the people who you should target, right? Get that clear. Anyone doesn't help. Anyone is like saying hello to anyone down the street, which you can't, by the way, if you're in Melbourne today, but that is what anyone means. It doesn't really help, or it has no direction. Of course, if you want to go ahead, it's just like Facebook, or if you want to treat LinkedIn just like Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, go ahead and do that, but that doesn't really add value to you. Have a strategy on how to reach them out. Add credibility to your profile to get noticed. Say, for example, if you just wave at me, there should be some reason for me to wave back at you, right? You should be credible. If it's on LinkedIn, it's your LinkedIn profile, it's your activity, it's your digital footprint that explains that, hey, this person is worth spending my time. So, and a repeat forever. I'll get to that later on. So let me touch on each of these points a bit more. Who is your target? So this example is if you're looking for a career change or if you're looking for a job, right? Don't blindly go and connect to hundreds and thousands of people. There might be a point in that, but it doesn't have a strategy. It's like just blowing whatever. I mean, it's not a perfect strategy at all. First start, list down 10 companies that you'd like to work. Find 10 people in each of them. That's really easy. Build a connection with them. Now, you're not sending them spam messages saying, hey, I'd like to have a job in your company. Can you, I'll share my resume. Can you refer me? No, that's not the intention. Your intention is to build a connection with them. Tomorrow, if they say, hey, Vinesh, I'll say, hey, whatever your name is back. I won't say, hey, X or Y or Z. I should know who you are. Everyone should, at least 10 people should know who you are, and you should be able to go for a coffee catch up or a virtual catch up, which is what happens these days with these 10 people, right? That is your target. Now, what happens out of this? One, you get insider information from companies. Remember, I don't know the statistics behind this, but people say that only 60 to 70% of the jobs in Australia are not advertised. How do you get into them? There's a huge hidden job markets. How do you get into them? Only by talking to people. That's one. Second, you get a clear picture of what is it that you want to be. Today, probably you thought your business analyst is a role for you. But when you talk to people, you realize probably business analyst is not a thing. Maybe your interest lies in project management. But unless you talk to people, you won't get that, right? Third thing is you will get to know what you can upskill on. Is there some tools that you can upskill on? Is there some software that you can upskill on? Is there some technology that you can upskill on? Again, of course, Google is your friend. You can Google and find everything for you. But trust me, if you have a headache and if you Google it, Google will probably say you're going to die tomorrow. That's not what you want, right? So you should find out these from real people out there. That's where it becomes more effective. That is who is your target. Now, how to reach out? They're different. They're probably gazillion ways to reach out, but I'm just listing out a few things that happen over here. Cold messages. This is when you have absolutely no idea who you're writing to, but you just send, hey, I really like your profile. I would like to have a conversation with you. Would you like to be open to a coffee catch up or a 5-minute or 50-minute? Like Preeta mentioned, would you like to be connect, have a conversation? That's cold messages. But the tricky thing with cold messages is the conversion rate is very low. You might send 100 such cold messages or emails and get responses from less than 10 people. Be ready for that. That's okay, right? Common connections is the next best thing, right? For example, if you're buying a phone and this is a Xiaomi phone, I don't know if you've ever heard about this brand, but if you want to buy this phone, your friend has to suggest, your friend has to say, hey, this is a really good phone. Only then you'll buy it. You won't buy it because it's putting fancy ads out there or something of that sort. You'd buy a Samsung or Apple that way, but you won't buy a brand which is less known in that way, right? So common connections is the best way. So for example, if Rajna says, hey, this my friend is really good at something, can you help him? I'll say, yeah, definitely, yes. Instead, if that friend just messages me, I need your help, I'm like, no, I have absolutely have no idea who you are. You're a random stranger to me, right? So use common connections. Meetups, webinars. This is probably the best way. You know, you have how many 80 plus connections today. You could actually make relationships out of this chat box. That's why I asked you to use the chat box. You know, you can make friendships out there. This is not how it used to happen in real life, but unfortunately now we have to rely on this. Same, Rajna, Ebony, Preeta. You have you can make 4 good connections. You all 80 people, 80 of the participants can make 4 good connections. Just sending a message that, hey, I absolutely loved your contribution in this meetup. I would like to discuss something more about this. Are you open to a connection? Right? That's another thing. And finally, it's your LinkedIn activity. That is what most people message there in that poll. You know, commenting on posts, writing, LinkedIn, generating content is the most or this is the best way to do it, but it's hard. But the next best thing, you know, commenting, not comments like interested, agreed, awesome. That holds no value at all. Strike a conversation. It should be a conversation triggering kind of comment. It's not about interested, awesome, thank you, congrats. It adds no value at all. Instead, you know, have some genuine conversations. Now, again, if you're sending me a cold message, you should have the credibility, or you should earn my trust, or I look at your profile and say, hey, this guy is good. Let me talk to him, right? And that's where you have to have a complete and good LinkedIn profile. Now, I always like saying a coach, her name is Adele. She mentioned that if you are not, if you don't have a complete LinkedIn profile, it's like you're not properly dressed for an interview. So it's like, you know, if you don't have a headline or if you have some section missing, it's like you're not wearing a shirt for an interview. And mind you, your LinkedIn profile is being interviewed 24/7. Right now, someone is checking your LinkedIn profile and you're being judged based on that. So if you're not wearing a shirt, they're seeing it like that, right? Why take that risk, right? You should have that credibility. There's no excuse for having a good LinkedIn profile. Content generation is another way. I briefly touched on it. It's about making posts, having quality posts and engaging with people. Relevant LinkedIn activity, very important. If you post or if you even like or comment on cat and dog pictures, for me, this is a personal choice, I'll immediately unfollow you, because that's not something that I want to see on my feed. I'm not saying everyone, but personally, I don't want to see that. Different language, politics, all those stuff. Your digital footprint is important. Remember, recruiters are stalking you, probably even on Facebook or Instagram. Even if they say that they don't do it, sometimes they look in different profiles. So you need to manage your digital footprint. And finally, build your brand. Have a clear picture of who you are, what is it that you want, so that when they reach out to you, they don't have confused message. You're not a software developer and a software tester. You're just a software developer, and this is what you want to work. Have that consistent brand, and that's what will work. Final slide. I mentioned the repeat forever thing. Networking is a slow burn. It's not like you go for a meetup today and tomorrow some magic is going to happen and you're going to get out of it. You probably have to invest a lot of time in building relationships and getting something out of it. And I always say, you know, I met three, Ebony, Preeta, Rajna, Navina, and Maria today. You any of these people can be CEOs of some company in 5 or 10 years down the lane. And if I need some help, I can just walk down to them, because that's how things work. Even I'll give you a live example. Maria, I mean, I met Maria, I think probably a year back, just over a coffee catch up. And she came to me for help on how things work over here, job search and stuff like that. But now, because I talked to her then, she invited me to this event. I have an opportunity to talk to you guys, right? So that's how things work. It's always a two-way street. It's not like you take, and just let him to die. That's not the way it works. It always reciprocates. So it takes time. The best time to start it was yesterday. The next best time is today. So get on it. But if you're job searching, you always think, it's time consuming. I have to spend a lot of time. It's not worth it. Probably if I spend all that time applying online, I might get a better result. Think it of like this. You spend 20 hours last week applying online. After 2 weeks, you hear nothing back from them, which is kind of a norm, right? Unfortunately, it's a norm. What happens to those 20 hours? It's down the drain. You're getting absolutely nothing out of it. Instead, what if you had spent 5 hours or 10 hours on networking? That has a compounding effect, and you will get back something out of it eventually, right? So that's how you have to think. You have to have a balance between applying online and networking. So that's briefly about me. Back to you, Rajna.
Thank you, Vinesh. That was really good. I really enjoyed the part where you spoke about defining a target. I feel that's an important part of networking. Gives you a bit of purpose. And we were just wondering if any of the other panelists or special guests had anything to add before we move on to the final concept.
I think I totally agree with Vinesh on the two-way street. I think I touched on with mentoring how the journey is for both people, and I think it's wholly applicable to networking as well.
Awesome. Did anyone else have any comments? We'll move on to the fourth concept now. This is potentially the most important concept out of today, and I think everyone will learn something from this. But basically, this is for all the panelists, what do you guys think of networking during and after COVID-19? Obviously, general opinions, how it's going to change, how it's going to affect how you network. Would Vinesh like to start, I think?
Yeah, absolutely, sure. Am I on mute? No, I'm not. So that is one thing about online networking, right? You always check, is my video working? Is my voice clear? Can you hear me? I think I read a LinkedIn post where this is the most said statement in recent months. Can you hear me? So although people think you can't network due to shutdown, for me personally, it has been the opposite. It kind of blew off the virtual catch-ups. Earlier, my events and whatever interactions that I used to do used to be specifically in Melbourne. Now it's from all over the world. So it kind of blew up the horizon for me. And there are plenty of opportunities. Everyone actually wants to socialize and wants to talk to people. And everyone is on LinkedIn generating content, putting out videos, everyone being open. So it has changed the way it is. You don't get to walk up to someone and have a conversation. Rather, you have to walk up to someone virtually and have a conversation, which is quite different. And people think it doesn't work, but it thinks it works way better than it does. And I think it is something that we have to accept as a normalcy, at least in the next for the next few months or years, or God knows how much. So that's definitely there. But I think you have to put more effort into tapping into that source, primarily because people don't know how the virtual world works, but everything is a learning. Just get into it, and I'm sure there's a lot of value to take out from there.
I can go next if you like. So some of the changes in networking during COVID is that I've learned is that people are actually a lot more versatile and adaptable than you think. I think there was a lot of, negativity towards having to Zoom all day. But I think months into the pandemic, I'm finding people are getting really creative. People for these online forums. I know you guys have a games after this, and I think that's brilliant. I think another thing I've noticed, which not everybody likes to go on the screen. I know for me there are some weeks where I may be sitting at the screen 10 hours a day working, and the last thing I want to do is have another VC. well, another thing I've noticed in saying that is that phone calls are increasing. I have received phone calls from people that I've not talked to in a very long time. And I think, you know, this goes back to my comment about people being versatile and adaptable. You can't no longer, you know, call up or send an email for a coffee catch up, but a phone call is really, really refreshing and welcoming. And I think the biggest challenge in, I guess, the current environment is, as you said, Vinesh, it's a little bit more hard work, because when you're in front of someone, there's a lot more opportunities for conversation. When it's just a screen, there's a bit more effort that needs to be put in, and it may not be during the conversation, it might be at the start of the conversation. So my biggest advice to you is, particularly if you're cold calling and you don't know the person that you're about to have a video chat with, is write yourself some prompters, because the silence does happen, and it's no one's fault. It's just that everyone is trying to adapt. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, thanks, Ebony. And look, I'm glad that you know, listening through to Vinesh and yourself as well, that we're all pretty much on the same page about what we think about networking. And I guess one of the other things that, I guess, back to your point, and I'd love to touch on is, you know, I understand we speak about LinkedIn, right? Or platforms or other ways that we network. But one thing I've realized as well, and Ebony hit it right on the spot there, that more people are calling and more people are actually talking to each other. Don't discount that networking even within the business you're currently in. I've spoken to more people I mean, we're on the Google platform, but I've spoken to more people on Hangouts than I've ever spoken to while actually being in the office. I mean, like the business is fairly large with over 3,000 people, and in the building, usually there are about 1,500, right? But more people are comfortable now in a way to just reach out to you via a Hangout video and speak to you. And I've been exposed to more managers and more senior managers than I ever have been in the past, where they would usually just maybe send an email and wait for a response. And I guess also the other thing is that you are actually networking with family and friends. You have more people having Zoom parties and get-togethers and let's catch up for a drink. And, you know, you could use those opportunities informally to learn about what's it like where they are. So I was recently speaking to family members who were in the UK and in the US, and understanding how businesses have evolved in those countries. So you actually get to expand your viewpoint and your perspective, not only from the location that you are in, but even from a global perspective. So don't narrow yourself to one definition of what networking is, right? So just keep an open mind, I would say. I guess that's all I have to say.
I'd like to add a point. When it comes to networking, especially online networking, it's important that you're proactive. Like Ebony and Preeta mentioned, if you just send an email or connect on LinkedIn and wait for people to respond to you, that's probably not the right thing to do. You have to be proactive and you have to take the initiative to have a conversation. For example, just as an example, today there are over 80 participants. I don't know, and all of our speakers' names were released earlier. I haven't got a single connection that's connected to me and said, hey, I'm looking forward to the conversation in this meetup. Or right now, I actually got a message right now, so that's the reason I'm saying Sweedal, shout out to Sweedal. She connected to me and she messaged that thanks for connecting Vinesh in the networking event right now. That's how you stand out, right? That's how you be proactive and you stand out. Otherwise, if you just connect to me and don't say anything, that's not how networking. You have to be proactive and taking that initiative. I know it's hard, but there are tons of opportunities or options out there. If you can take those, I'm sure you wouldn't need this power of networking session. You would be the power already.
Completely agree with you there, Vinesh. I mean, in your example just now, about not hearing from anyone and even ongoing from this, I mean, we don't know who the plus 83 people are on the screen. You know, if you were to reach out to any of the panelists tonight, it'll be really hard for us to sort of distinguish how we might have met, you know, what platform. And that goes back to what I said earlier. Online networking is a great tool and there's a greater reach, but it also requires a little bit more effort. And the effort is, hey, I heard you speak at the Power Networking event tonight. Just wanted to introduce myself, et cetera, et cetera. You know, pre-pandemic, you could more often than not, because you meet the person, let's say at an event, you'll probably remember them. It's a bit harder now. So I think that's really key, is you need to think about how can I make sure I'm remembered.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, thank you guys. That was really interesting. I agree. Lots more meetings now once we're in COVID land, unfortunately or fortunately. We'll now pass on to Maria, who will run a Kahoot for us.
Yeah, sorry, I was just having some difficulties. Thank you to all our panelists for that amazing insight. All right, we will have a Q&A session right after this activity. So please stick around if you have any burning questions for our panelists. So who's ready to play some Kahoot? You are here for the chance to win one of 3 $25 vouchers. So everyone is welcome to play. Grab your phones, go to kahoot.it. Here's the PIN number. So it's 649860. So just in the best interest of time, I'll set the timer to 30 seconds so that everyone joins. Awesome. 15 players already. Awesome. 5 more seconds, so less chance to join. Okay, cool. So let's start. I hope that you feel more confident about your networking skills. So let's start with the first question. Which is a good online network tool? You have 20 seconds to answer.
It's a very hard question, Maria. I personally don't know which one to choose.
Hopefully you'll get this right.
Take your time as well.
So yeah, you got that right. LinkedIn is the right place to be if you want to network, as advised by our panelists. So we'll move on to the next question. Let's see who's at the lead. So Martin, congratulations, you're there. For the next question, this question is worth double points and it has 3 answers. So I hope that you're ready for that. Double points. What are the names of our 3 speakers? I hope you've been paying attention to this one.
This will be a good judge of seeing who's been asleep, as was previously mentioned.
Okay, cool. So yeah, you got that right. I hope you got those details right because they will be expecting your connection request right after this event. So we'll move on to the next question. Let's see who is at the lead. You got fantastic. What is the best way to approach a new connection? What do you think that is? What would you do, Nick?
Either weather or outfit, I think. If I'm being totally honest.
Yeah, definitely a good idea not to ask for a job at the first approach. Congratulations for the leaderboard. We'll move on to the 4th question. So which of our panelists specializes in human resources? Another test to see who's been paying attention to this one. I think we're almost there. A couple more answers.
Where is it?
Prita, That's right. So with more than 10 years of experience, Prita is the right answer. Cool. I think one of our panelists is in the leaderboard. We'll move on to the next question. So which is an RMIT program where you can network? If you've been around RMIT for a while, you'll note that this is quite easy. If you haven't joined to any of them, we prompt you to join. So yeah, you can find networking opportunities all around RMIT in all of them, and we encourage you to join now. The next question is, which of the panelists is a project manager?
Another trick question, I think.
You think? Nick, would you consider yourself a project manager? That's the real question tonight.
Not a successful one so far. So.
Cool. So currently working at North Project, Ebony is our project manager. Cool. So we have a leader. Moving on to the next question, which is an activity that enables networking opportunities?
Definitely gardening, Maria.
Singing in the shower looks exciting.
I can give you a couple of ideas. Just so that you know, Netflix and chill is not actually considered networking, but thank you for sticking around to the launch of my trivia host career. Moving on to the next question. I hope this is not frozen. No, it's not. So which of our panelists specializes in networking platforms? Who do you think that is?
Maria, just looking at the video screens, that person is looking very conspicuous.
Cool. So our panelist has hosted more than 150 networking events. So if you're looking for someone to be your go-to expert for advice of networking, you already know who to go to. Let's go for the next question, which I believe it's double points. Yes, it is. This is multi-selection as well. So which are some apps where you can find online meetups nowadays during lockdown and in the COVID online environment? Cool, a few more seconds. We still have a couple more people pending to answer. Cool, so yeah, you got that right. So Meetup and Eventbrite, if you haven't downloaded them, please download them soon. And don't forget to enter the keywords of your interests in the search box to find opportunities. So the last question, double points, multiple selection. What are the names of the clubs that organized the event? Let's see if you were paying attention. Okay, so I have to admit that was too easy. So Human Resources Association and Truly Yours Project Management Chapter are the right answers. Congratulations to our winners. Thank you for that. So I'll pass it on back to Nick.
All right, it's a time everyone's been waiting for. It's question time. Now we ask that you please put your questions in the chat, just because it'll be too much of a mess if you turn your microphone, or everyone turns their microphones on at once, and Richner and I will read them out.
Yep. So just quickly, sorry, for those who just on the top 3, please shoot us an email or put your email in the chat box so we can contact you for the prizes.
Yes, please identify yourself in the chat so we know it's you.
And back to questions. If anyone have any, please put it in the chat box like Nick said. And for those who are struggling to don't know where the chat is, you can raise your hand and we'll,
Any questions?
Yep, we have some in the chat box.
Paneri asks, what is the best opening line to connect with in LinkedIn?
Any of our panelists or special guests?
I can jump in there. I think it's the best opening line is just that it's an introduction. It's you know, for an example for tonight, I heard you speak at the Power Networking event, or I'm a construction management student and I'm looking to find an industry mentor. Or, you know, you need to make the introduction, not just a simple, you know, adding a whole list of people on LinkedIn.
For me, it would be do your homework, have some context. Don't just blindly make it all about you. You know, make the receiver, whoever you're sending to, you know, that you've done your homework, that, you know, you've checked out their LinkedIn profile, their company profile, what they do, or even like Ebony mentioned, you know, met you in this or some conversation during this meetup. So have some context. Don't just blindly send a copy paste message, which is annoying.
Yeah, I think I can't add more to that. I think definitely we've all touched on the why, the who, and the what. And I guess it's really important, again, like I said, sit back and reflect exactly. Take a little bit of time. Understand if you haven't sent anything through right now, that's okay. Take some time, draft something, put it through. We're more than happy to take a look as they come through later on.
Thank you, Priya. So the second question is from Cleo. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. So how would you network if you were aiming to get a job overseas after you graduate?
Look, maybe I can add a little bit, and I think Vinesh, you might be able to add a lot more on this one, but only through, I guess, experience from the past. I mean, I'm not Australian. I came here about 14 years ago, and I think one of the really important things I found that it's actually really hard to find a job overseas when you're not present in the country. Right. And one of the tools, or one of, I guess, the methods that I tapped into was reaching out to people that are already new. And that comes back to, like I said earlier, where you capitalize on what you have and what you already know, and reached out to them and told them my intentions and what I was looking for, and asked for recommendations. I asked for, you know, where would you go? Who would you reach out to? There were people who were kind enough to say, look, you know, I've known you for some time. I'm more than happy to connect you with somebody. So take a look at who you already know and maybe try and start there.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. Exactly what Preeta said. The virtual world or LinkedIn has made the world a smaller place. So you can build the foundations, you know, get your homework done before you reach there. That's the best you can do. You probably won't get an offer, you know. For example, I get questions, you know, can I apply for roles outside Australia, and will I get one? 99% of the time they don't even get a call from a recruiter. So again, it depends on the country, it depends on the culture, but what you can do right away is build that foundation, know who you can talk to, and understand what the tools, technology, or whatever it is that is there, so you're better prepared.
Awesome. Our next question is from Marlon. He asks, if there is any existing job at a company you want to work for, can you actively network with certain employees in the company to get information, like software or systems they use, so that you can tailor your application to that knowledge?
I think that would depend on your relationship with the person. If it already exists, then there's no reason why you can't reach out to them and say, look, you know, this is the criteria in the job application. What's the best way to approach it? But if you don't know them, then I don't think that would be the right approach. If you know someone existing, then yeah, absolutely. And that's, like, in my opinion, I think that's okay.
Yeah, +1 to Ebony. There are two ways to job search. One is you see a job ad, you find people in that company, you try to connect and get some help. Another thing I call that as reactive job search. Another thing is you're already connected to people in that company, and a new job ad comes, and then you probably get more information than you need, right? So you have to always be proactive and be on top of things rather than reacting to a job search. So if you have a good connection, yes, whatever information you can get, like, you know, what the values of the companies are, what the culture is, what are the tools that use, definitely all of those will be a bonus for your resume. It just shows that you've done the homework.
Thank you. And then moving on to third questions from Sue. I think that's how you pronounce it. Can I ask in LinkedIn whether your company have vacancy, or can you please refer me later if your company have vacancy? So can we say something like this? If you were to...
Vinesh, do you want to touch on that one?
My company posted 4 or 5 roles last week. Since then, I've been getting connections saying, hey, I saw a role in your company. Can you refer me to the role? If I don't know you, I can't refer you. Simple, right? Not everyone is like that. Some people will be happy to refer you, and definitely the referral bonus is really nice. But for me, unless I can vouch for you, unless I know you, unless I work for you, I won't refer you. And most people have that sentiment, right? In the end, when someone refers you to a recruiter, the relationship between that person and recruiter is at stake. So if they just send across someone, it might go down the drain, right? So personally, no, that's why I said, you know, you have to be proactive. You have to be connected to them early on, build a relationship. When a job pops up, see what you can do about it. This, can I have a referral is not your first message, or it's not your first email, or it's like popping the ring on the first date. If it works, it works, good for you. But if it doesn't, it most usually won't work.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Personally, if someone came up to me and said, you know, on LinkedIn, can I have a job, or could you make me a referral? For me, you know, in construction and in project management, a lot of what you do is you know, there's a hard skill base, but there's also a reputational aspect. And as someone senior, just because, you know, you may have done the degree, it's hard to know. You know, you need to understand the person's skill set. So it's, yeah, I think that's a tough one.
It's interesting. We'll move on to the next question then. Yugandhara wants to know, is it best to approach the HR people or department of a company first when connecting with the company?
I think I maybe can help slightly here. Look, I think this comes back to what everyone's been saying before about the who, and really understand that. I receive a lot of invites from people, you know, looking for job opportunities, and they just see, you know, people, business partner, or HR in this, all right, you'll be able to assist me. One tip, I guess, I just want to say, for example, I don't touch recruitment at all. Recruitment's only escalated to when there is a problem. I don't get involved with recruitment. So really you're targeting the wrong person. So I guess it goes back to read their profile, understand what exactly is it that they do before you actually reach out to them. I guess that's one of the biggest things. I think a lot of people, like I said, they see the word HR, then they go, all right, I'll click and connect. Take the time to actually go through their profile, look at their history. For example, if you take a look at my profile, you'll see that I'm heavily involved in industrial relations, for example, or coaching and development, or restructures. From that itself, you know that I'm not involved in recruitment. Right? Or maybe restructure your question better and you say, you know, I've taken a look at your profile. I'm really interested in the company that you work for. I understand that you manage, I don't know, industrial relations. Is there someone in recruitment that you could point me to, or that you could direct me to? I'll be more than happy to say, hey, sure, speak to our recruitment lead or check out our careers page. So I guess it's a way that you approach it as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, plus one to Preeta. I'll just add a point. Trust me, a recruiter's inbox, be it on LinkedIn or email, is literally spammed by applications from all over the world, right? Why would they look at your message or give you attention? It's really hard. On the other hand, if you even talk to your alumni, right, alumni from your college that's working in that organization, you, I mean, probably you have a direct line to that person, and you can connect better to that and have insider info from that alumni as well. Why do you have to target to a recruiter? Unless someone directly refers to your recruiter and says, hey, this is a great guy, and have a conversation, that's a different thing. But Usually I'd recommend, network with anyone in your domain, not just the recruiters and senior professionals.
Great, thank you for that, Manish. Next one, I think this is Nick. Do you have any strategies for people who are shy?
Nick,
Not
you
that
don't
I'm
come
shy.
across as shy.
No, I'm definitely not shy, but there are other people out there who are.
Look, being shy is a personality trait. It's not a bad thing. I think the key to it is still communication. Understand, might be a little bit harder to approach someone, but I mean, online platforms are great. You don't have to pick up the phone. You don't need to do face-to-face. You can send a message. But if you want to improve on your shyness and you do want to learn to approach people, do it with your social network. Practice with, when you go and order a coffee, don't just say soy latte, say how are you going. Like you can be really creative in the aspects of your life where you can try and practice. I'm not a shy person, but I have approached a lot of my mentees. One of their biggest things is that they're shy. My biggest advice is practice. Know that the receiver, whoever you're trying to approach, I said this earlier, is probably equally as shy or a bit nervous about the conversation as well. So you're not on your own.
Awesome.
Absolutely. I'll just add a point on that. So people who know me, I moved to Melbourne in 2018. Took me 8 months to find work. That's why I do what I do right now. And in these 8 months, I did not go for a single catch-up, not a single meetup. I even refused a beer offer from a recruiter. I mean, that's the kind of individual I am. But with practice, with knowledge that I have something to share, now if someone asks me something about LinkedIn or job search, I keep talking, right? So I think researching and knowing what to ask, say, research who you're meeting and, have some questions written down so that you can ask. That will kind of help you get out of your shell. And like Ebony said, just practice. Go that extra mile. I know it's hard. Social media kind of makes it easier because you are not meeting that person in person and there are less awkward moments, but researching and practicing will go a long way.
Great to know. So I've got another one personally, because I'm not really that shy, and I think Ebony, you can attest to this. How do you know if you're going too far?
Perspective as a receiver, I would welcome it, as long as it's topical. I don't think it's a problem. I would personally welcome someone that talks too much, because I talk too much. It'll be a long conversation.
Yeah, I agree, Ebony. I think it has to do with, is the topic relevant? Am I enjoying it? Probably one of the worst conversations I had is with a multi-level marketer, and unfortunately I went with a coffee catch-up with this person, and he just kept saying stuff. He kept saying stuff, and I was not bothered to listen at all, right? So that kind of makes it a really awkward conversation. But if it's something related, go for it.
And I apologize, everyone. I have to run. I have a call I urgently have to take, but I just want to add one thing to that. I think just remember that everyone understands and acknowledges that you may be nervous. No one's judging you. Be yourself. Have a good conversation and leave it at that, right? So I wouldn't worry too much into, am I talking too much? Am I talking too little? Obviously, go equipped with the information and resources that you need to know to hold the conversation, but let it flow through. I'd just like to say thank you to everyone. Thank you very much to the organizers. Thank you, Ebony and Vinesh, for your insights. It's been great to listen to two other peers as well. And if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to take them later on. And I hope you all have a lovely weekend.
Thanks,
Brenda. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. We're up to, sorry if I pronounce this wrong, Giradhar, and he's asked, if I had built a connection with an employer, what is the best way to be genuine to work in an organization that's not showing that I'm desperate to work?
I think the key thing there is genuine. I mean, if you've done your research, if the approach is genuine and you're interested in the job or the company or the person, if you're genuine, I don't think it'll come across as desperation. But that's probably in a conversational form. I think I'd probably seek your advice, Vinesh, on how to make it genuine in writing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, being genuine and, having that curious mindset, asking questions, and not focusing on the end result is the right way to go for it. And unless you ask for a job, nobody's going to think you're desperate. I mean, even if you ask for a job, it's not necessarily because of desperation. Desperation happens when you make a LinkedIn post every day saying, "Hey, I'm looking for work. Please like, comment, or share my post," or "Please, can you share my profile?" Please. I mean, that's when desperations come. But when you just have a conversation, talk about Girdhar, I know you personally. Talk about cricket. Talk about what's happening there, right? Talk about those kind of stuff. That's where you build connections. And eventually that will reciprocate.
That's really good. Thank you. And then we've got a question from Davis. I myself have a vision impairment and I choose to put that in my LinkedIn. Is that a bad idea?
No, absolutely not. I think as someone who interviews and employs, you're a person who has certain needs, and the more transparency, the better. There's no issues with that at all.
But question for you, Ebony. I mean, it's probably if Davis has good skills and his values are good, why do you have to put visual impairment on LinkedIn? As in, people are selling their skills, not
sure.
Yeah. So
I'll
probably not up there.
Yeah.
Being transparent, yeah, I agree, but that's not how you should market.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, but for me, it would come from it wouldn't be about giving the job or anything like that. Yeah. It would be more about understanding, in terms of diversity inclusion, what we would need to, it's about welcoming the person. Absolutely. And we know it, right? So I work in construction. In terms of construction, it's really important to know these things because we'd need to set up certain, particularly in a construction site, and if this individual, whatever the let's say the vision impairment, we'd need to make sure there's the right protocols in place, etc., for these things. So it's not about, I'm not going to look at that one. It's about making sure that we're equipped for what's out there, because that's a great one.
Really good.
I think we'll move on to the next question. This is probably aimed at you, Vinesh. For people who hold TR or PR recently in Australia, how authentic and important is it to seek guidance from a career coach to better understand work culture and strategies to land up in a job?
See, if you're up for it, Google is your friend. Every information you want, you have it on Google, YouTube, LinkedIn, or wherever you want. But that journey will be hard, right? A lot of people has walked, even talk to your alumni to figure out what is it that you have to do, right? So make sure that you talk to people, and you can network, like crazy, talk to a lot of people and figure out your own journey. Or you can pay a career coach and let them help you. Trust them and let them help you, right? It's more like when applying for a visa, do you go through an agent or do you just do it online? Just as an example, that's a personal choice. If you don't think that you're up for doing that research, go ahead and pay a career coach. I mean, the service is absolutely worth it. I myself have taken a couple of career coach services when I was job hunting. So just shop around, see who is the right fit for you, and go for it.
Thank you, Vinesh. Okay, and then another question is from Brittany. She's asking, something I struggle with is being aware of events, meetings, and opportunities that are occurring around me. Do you have any suggestions on how to stay in the loop and in order to make new connections?
I think, like Maria put it in the quiz, meetup.com and Eventbrite are the excellent probably the top 2 platforms to find out events. But if you're a student, if you're working if you're a student at uni, I'm sure there are different channels within the uni. I mean, I was talking to someone earlier today, and they said the career website and RMIT, for example, advertises every event and everything of that sort. So that will also keeping you on loop. And there will be certain industry-specific events which are advertised only if you're connected with them. For example, if I'm doing an event, and if it's not on Meetup or Eventbrite, you have to follow either, just as an example, RMIT's HRA page, or you have to follow me on LinkedIn, right? So following people relevant in your domain will also get you those insights.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome, thank you. So we'll do 3 more questions, and then we'll call it, I think. Sorry.
Just to add to that, Brittany, if you're from RMIT University, there is Career Hub that you can always check. They always post all the events that happens. They always post it there. So RMIT Career Hub, definitely check it out.
Yeah, great resource, right?
Sure.
Sorry, got a bit of lag here.
I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. We're up to Snahel's question now. How do you keep the conversation going on with the connection? Because it happens that you may connect people on social media once and then it's done.
You want to go, Ebony?
I think I touched on it earlier, particularly on the online platform. It's hard to keep the conversation going, and it's about preparing yourself for that conversation, doing the research on the person or the company where they come from, or if it's a social context, their hobby. Have some, and if I guess in this sort of platform, you can have your notebook next to you and have some prompters if you need to. But in person, if you go and spend that time and effort to understand who you've reached out to, you then sort of have an idea of who they are, and you can. And I think that will encourage a flow of conversation.
I'll give you 3 examples. There are a couple of recruiters whom I met. They said, call me up every week. Just say hi, hello, what's happening with the role. So, I don't think everyone will be comfortable with that. So it'll be dependent on who you are dealing with. Second one, I keep in touch with the recruiter just because he's a Liverpool fan and he supports my rival team. I'm a Manchester United fan. So whenever he loses, I send him a text. Easy way to get in touch. Mm-hmm. Third thing is your LinkedIn visibility, just as an example. So how do people know me? Just as an example, if you're connected to me and if you follow me on LinkedIn, my posts pop up probably I post like probably 3 times a week. So it's guaranteed that you know me, and even though you don't talk to me or I don't talk to you, right? So your personal brand can make that memory alive, even though you don't personally talk to them. So that's where content generation can actually help. You don't have to literally talk to everyone in person. Instead, you can make sure that everyone remembers you. So that's a whole different story, but that's another thing you can do.
That's really good. Thank you. Just because we're running short out of time, I'm going to read the last question. So this is from Nina. How can you seek or establish mentor relationship with someone you know or work with in an industry seeking to enter?
Now, as I think initially, my initial response to that is I believe RMIT has some great mentoring avenues. I know they do in the school that I'm an alumni of, which is property construction and project management. There's a direct path there from university to industry, and they do placements. So that's one way as a student. Another way, again, is researching an individual, what they do, and if it's something that you want for yourself, do the cold call, do the cold email, approach them, seeking that. I think a lot of professionals I know don't even consider mentoring until it's been put forward to them.
Very good, thank you. Manish, did you have anything to ask, or anything else to add? You're good.
It's the same thing. I mean, do your research. People like mentoring. People like giving advice. Yes. But if you're just saying, hey, can you please mentor me? I don't know where I am. That's probably not the right way. Do your homework, and whatever effort you put in, eventually you'll get back. So don't think that they will spoon feed you. Rather be proactive and ask the right questions and get the information out of the person.
That's really good. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
So I'll wrap it up. Thank you everyone for your questions. On behalf of the Human Resource Association and the Project Management Chapter, I'd like to say a massive thank you to all our panelists here tonight, particularly for providing us your valuable times and providing us such an informative and insightful information. You guys have been absolutely amazing, and yeah, and that's all from me. I hope everyone have a good weekend.
All right. See ya.
Thank you, everyone.
You.
Thank you.
And well done to the two groups for hosting a very well run event. You've all done really well. You should be happy with yourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ebony.